Welcome to Cheques Play, the best casino podcast. Let's do it.
Crowd of people, and you travel all over the universe. Like you said, you mentioned a lot of different places, the Philippines, Macau, and so forth. How do you connect with these different cultures? Because the game is different, and even the culture is different, how people relate to one another and the respect to each other. How do you dive into understanding the culture? Or I'm wrong?
You're wrong. So you're wrong only because one thing I've learned over the years, from Morocco to Iowa to Atlantic City, know this when I say it. I know Bruce knows this. Gamblers are gamblers, and they are culture all their own. You can give me Morocco was a Muslim, right? Country or whatever. I didn't go to school. And Macau, Philippines, Asian, Korea, all have these specific rules, culture, protocol, right? Asian, but when you get down to when they're on the game and they want a comp or they want TTO on their credit, that's it. They are their own culture. And I can't stress that enough to casino hosts. I can't stress enough. When I went to Morocco, Africa, no one speaks English. I got on the phone on my kid's eyes. I got on the phone and I booked a guy. I booked a player in Morocco talking just like this because he is a gambler. He happened to be in Cyprus when I called him, and I got him on the phone, and I was in Morocco and I booked him. So I know what you're saying. You're right. There is culture. Do I act the same in Iowa as I do in Punta Cana as I do in California? Absolutely not. We know this. We know. And maybe that's another a checked item on who could be a host, right? You can be from New York and be a great host in Atlantic City and Philly, and then you go to California and you're ticking people off.
Oh man, you could say something, especially if you. I had a situation with a young lady that worked for me. She was from South Philly. She didn't say anything rude, nasty, but it was just her mannerism and how she spoke. He says, "Well, where we come from, that's an act of aggression." It was an act of aggression,
Well, Asian culture, they're, even though I just said, listen, they want free, they want their cigarettes free. They know those languages, right? They know play more, but you also have to be careful of the color cards you give them. You have to be careful of the numbers on the card. You have to be careful, exactly what you said. You have to be careful how you say certain things to them, how it comes to them. So that stuff you have to learn that as a host. You have to learn cultural. And I got to be honest, this whole Asian thing and all these Asian hosts out there saying they only want Asian hosts. Not true. We both know that. Myself and so many hosts, domestic hosts, have had tons of Asian players. I've asked my Asian players, do you want an Asian host? No, you. But all depends on the connection and what they like about you. And, you show face, you show face and you respect them. And I have brought that Asian culture even into the domestic, when somebody from Iowa gives me their business card, I still hold it with two hands and I don't put that card away until the is over, which I've learned from Asian culture. But why be disrespectful to any other culture, right? Black, the color black, it's funeral everywhere.
Please explain that though, because just for the persons that don't understand what you just said about the business card.
So there is one prominent thing in Asian culture that when an Asian businessman, executive, whoever, or window cleaner, when he hands you a business card, in domestic, in America, Americans, we tend to take that business card and go like that, right in our jacket pocket or in our back pocket, which is worse. That means, right?
I didn't think about this, but
from your ass, yeah.
Europeans and Asians look at that, right? So the one particular I could tell you about Asian marketing is when they hand you a business card, you hang on to it like this with two hands facing you up, like, like a laptop or your phone. And you don't put that away until the transaction or the greeting or the conversation is done. Often I wait till they walk away from me. But ultimately, to answer your question, I have learned over the many years, I don't think it's 40, Bruce, but thank you. It's 30 something for sure. I was 22 in Atlantic City. But I've learned over the years that gamblers are gamblers. When you get down to that hourglass, when you get down to the funnel of the negotiation, gamblers are gamblers. And the other thing you said, and I have incorporated this, when the limo would call us and we would walk maybe sometimes with the president to meet the $1 million player. Mm-hmm. That's very Atlantic City, very Hard Rock, Punta Cana, very, very Vegas. But I have brought that into little tiny joints in Iowa and California and Oklahoma, because again, gamblers are gamblers. So who wouldn't like? Who would? And especially when there's 5 casino hosts in a small property somewhere in Washington or somewhere, they don't have a steakhouse. They don't have a golf course. But these 5 hosts have to make their numbers. They have to make their production. How do you keep that player out of that? How does a little joint in California keep the player out of Pachanga? With what you just said, that human touch. Text me when you're 5 minutes out. I'll meet you at the front door. They don't even have a hotel. But using that, what we used to do back in the day, that's why it works. Because people might say that only works in Vegas. No, it works with gamblers. And actually it would work with anybody, right? Think about doing that to any business. If AT&T did that to me, they'd have my business, right? So it's that extra step in hospitality.
What do you give them for free?
You want to take that one, Nick, about the difference between you inviting somebody and or offering versus somebody, because that's going to be asking, hey, can you get me 5 to the whatever? No, I can give you 1 to the pizza joint, whatever.
Yeah. So I'd like to answer it, but we don't have 18 hours. But it's such a technique, Kasia. It's such a technique. And first thing I think is a lot of these casinos are nickel and diamond players, and they're chinsing out players. I'll go to some places that they only have a coffee shop, and I eat a coffee shop while I'm there. And I'm not going to lie, it's crap. And then when I go to the host office after my lunch, there's a player who lost $500 and he's begging for a comp to go eat at this crappy coffee shop that you have, right? So sometimes I think just feed everybody, feed them, right? So there's that element. There's also the element of when a company property tells a host, you're allowed to comp a certain percentage of the gambler's play. It's called theoretical, but I don't want to confuse you. So the host is allowed to comp a certain percentage of that play. Well, that's a silly thing to tell a host, because then they draw the line. And I don't care if you lose $7,000 or you lose $7, they walk that line. That's not how you do business. You overinvest in your upper tier. You overinvest in your good players, right? And the thing they do wrong is they have a steakhouse on the property. I think only the top tier should get a comp to the steak. But yet they'll have people come in, and if they have $12 of comp on their account, they go, well, here's $12. You can use that anywhere. And now you have a $12 comp in the gourmet steakhouse. So marketing has really, what's the better word than screwed up?
Well, you did dilute you want it to be aspirational.
Marketing has really diluted, great word, oversaturated and diluted. Every tier is happy being in their own tier. The tier should want to be in the top tier. They should want to play more. Now, the other thing I'm going to tell you in sales is we don't invite. We assume. And the one thing I want to talk about today, if we get a chance, is how I differentiate myself from the 1 or 2 people out there that claim to train player development or train the claim host.
You're reading my mind, because I wanted to go there, because you're the only person that I know that does what you do. And I saw you, I connected with you on LinkedIn maybe 2 years ago. And you and I connect probably every day. Everything you hit and I like and I share, whatever, because I love what you do. I love our business. I love our industry, you're getting the message out there, and to do what you do, Nick, is we just love it. And
I'm the only one, Kasia, that after I speak, I have a new brand on LinkedIn now called I'm Not All Talk. And that, that's double-edged, right? It's double-sided. But it means that after I speak for 5.5 hours about everything you need to know about casino player development and casino host sales, I then sit with each host individually and I back up everything I just said.
I saw that.
Immediately, the first call they make, they book and they go, "Oh my God, this works." I'm like, if it didn't work, I'd split, right? I would talk and then I would eat in your steakhouse and I would leave and I'd go golf with your CEO or, and then I would get out of there, right? I don't do that. I don't even hang out with the tribe. I don't hang around with the CEOs. I hang out with the host. I'm there for the host. So that separates me from everybody else is I do these one-on-ones and this goes hand in hand. The reason why I can do those one-on-ones is I've only been a host in player development for over 30 years. All you got to do is look at other people's resume and their experience. They've not, even if they've been a host, it's barely a year, they've been in marketing, they've been GMs, they've been CEOs, great titles, great experiences. I've only done player development in the last 30 something years. That's all I've done is talk to players. And then the last 15 years of traveling to all these different markets, that's like a million years of experience now. If I could tell host in Iowa what happened when we made calls in Baja Mar, right? And if I could tell California what happened when we made calls in Pittsburgh, so really, it's not even me anymore. I'm teaching these experiences that I'm having with all these hosts in all these different markets to host just like them. It's a phenomenon. It really is. And I'm truly blessed. And Bruce, thank you for everything you did, and thank you for supporting me. I'm about to delete a lot of people on my LinkedIn because I like everybody's stuff and nobody tends to hit that like button. I don't know what the big deal is. I guess they don't like it. I don't know. They view it, but I guess they don't like it. And they'll text me, "Hey, that's a great post." And then I'll go look and they didn't like it. But they took the time to text me to tell me they liked it. So thank you.
That's a great value about your seminars because people really can, first test it with you also to make it, to bring it into practice right away. And you can, give them feedback right away, what they can improve and understand if they understood what you've just taught them. When I was watching one video on your YouTube channel, I saw you said very interesting thing that you need for a host, that it's crucial for a host to survive the 30 seconds in a call. And how, why? How did you find it out? Why 30 seconds? And
again, you just said something amazing. How did I find it out? I explain this in my training. My program, I learned from sitting with each host, but I learned it from the player. I don't learn it from the host's mistakes. And many times hosts are nervous to sit with me because they think I'm judging them or evaluating them. I'm not. I'm evaluating the call and I'm listening to the player, not speakerphone. I can hear him through the cell phone, right? So I have heard more times than not, I've heard a host call a player and go, "Hi, yes, how are you today? My name is Nick Ippolito. I'm one of the executive senior director hosts here at the beautiful blah, blah, blah." And I could hear the player go, "What do you want? What do you want? What do you want?"
Yes.
I developed this, and it's in any sales, we'll tell you 30 seconds, but I developed this, they're a player, right? They're a gambler, right? So your first name should be comp and your last name should be the casino you work at. Nobody cares about your title. Nobody cares about your last name. Nobody cares. They are at work. They are busy. We all answer our calls on cell phones now, in the car, with our family. I can hear players going, yeah. What? I just got off the phone with Harris and Vegas and Putacana. What do you want? What do you want? And I say to the host, didn't you hear? And selling's in the listening. Absolutely. Selling is in the listening. If you're not listening, you're not selling, right? So I've learned over the years, get to the point. This is a gamble. And don't gamble like that? And don't they play like that? And isn't that their mentality? You have to know your clientele. You're not booking my next root canal. You're not trying to be a bill collector. You're not calling to, you are calling a gambler, for God's sakes. Call it like you're calling a gambler, right?
Like a friend also, like, no?
What's that?
Almost like a friend, like you should call it kind of like a friend.
That's a different, I think that's a
removing all the titles and everything.
I think that's a different topic though. Right here is like, get to the bottom line, because that used to happen to me. But you know who Augie Renner is? Used to be my,
of course I know.
He made me a host.
Don't know Renner, you shouldn't be in the casino industry.
Yeah, actually, he just texted me a minute ago. But anyway, he brought me in, he made me a casino host. He transitioned me from a table games floor person to become a host and an executive host. And when I would be explaining things to him, what's the bottom line? What's the bottom what's the bottom line? I would be going through every freaking detail.
Right.
It's like, what's the bottom line? What's the bottom line? So Kasi, what I'm saying is, it really doesn't matter if they're your friend or you have that kind of relationship. At this point, it's business. You haven't even developed a friendship or relationship. This person is on the phone telemarketing, right?
Yeah, because most of the calls are maybe cold calls, right?
Yeah.
My calls are all cold calls. I do not call Tom and Mary that come every day.
Which is super difficult.
The waste of time. The host is not driving that business. Tom and Mary that live 25, 30 miles away, the casino owns that business. They own it with their direct mail. And they own it with the free play. The host is not driving that industry. My calls are all cold calls.
This is the most difficult part in this game, in fact.
I would encourage us all, and Bruce caught himself, I would encourage us all not to say friendship. There is no friendship. It is a relationship. Once you start thinking the player is your friend, the game is over. And I can tell you 1, 2, 3, 4 off the top of my head, 4 or 5 really great executive hosts, senior vice presidents that got in trouble with that
words
friend.
out of my mouth. You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say trouble. Get in trouble.
You corrected yourself. You said friendship first, and then you corrected yourself and you said
because it went through my mind. Relationship. Yeah.
Absolutely. I saw you catch yourself. That was amazing. It's little things like that, So go back to the other question is, I don't invite anyone. I tell them they have it, right? Why would you call a player and go, did you want to come into the steakhouse tonight? Right?
Your impressions are, you're going to get in trouble.
I get in trouble all the time. But I have to show the mirror, right? I have to put... God bless. Have you seen the testimonials casino hosts have given me? God bless them all. I love every one of them. And they text me and they email me and they follow up with me. But when I show the mirror to them, they go, yeah, why do I talk like that? And did you want to? And I said, well,
give us some more of those. Give us a few more. Come on.
What happened to the guy? What happened to the guy that was cracking jokes? He was cracking jokes in the seminar, but sales does that. You both said, I don't like sales. I don't want to be a sales. I don't like being sold. I don't like sales. So we have to get over that inhibition, especially when it comes to gamblers. It's the easiest sales. If any salesperson is watching this outside of the casino industry, they are laughing at me. I'm probably a joke in the real sales world, because that's real sales. I challenge any casino host to do that. I don't even know if I can do it. But casino hosting is the easiest sale. We're selling the crack to the crackhead, right? It's very simple.
Hi there. I'm Bruce Harrison. I'm here just to tell you that you look great today. And I tell you, we have this fantastic stack of carpets over here that they're going to look fabulous inside your motorhome.
Motorhome. You said motorhome.
So I mean, but as you said about this guy, that at the seminar he was joking and etc. And then during the call he was. So it's about also confidence. Okay, one thing is relation, being authentic and etc. But confidence, right?
I had a few good testimonials from casino hosts. Jamie in Maryland Law. And he said, after your training, I'm addicted. He said, I have confidence. It's a good word when I hear that from testimonials from hosts. There's one, Christine from Desert Diamond. She said, after your training, my job and my title have a purpose.
Wow.
When I first started out this, I thought I was just, hey, you want to know what I've done? But when I start hearing, Sasha in Maryland Live, she sent me, you're life changing, your career life changing. Don't GM at Thunder Valley, you're a game changer. Those things, like they fulfill me more than the pay. You know what I mean? Confidence is key, but it comes from knowing who you're calling. Every night, Disneyland, Home Depot, they know their clientele. So the host has to understand, I'm about to call a gambler. Bruce was saying earlier, Augie was like, get to the point, because that's how think about a gambler. They walk in, they go right to the slot machine, or they go right to the blackjack table. And what does that transaction look like? This, right? Let me know. Did I hit it? Did I hit it? Did I hit it? So call with that mentality. Call a player and be like, get to the point. Here's what you hit. Here's what you got. My whole life, I've said to players, I'll make a deal with you. I'll make a bet with you. Holy cow. You want to watch them squirm in their chairs? That's their personality. I'll make a bet with you. I'll make a deal with you. That's their personality.
Give us one of your craziest stories, Nick, that a good one and a funny one that you may have had on the road with either your client or a group of people that you're training, or maybe a customer. Can you have any?
So I whenever somebody asks me about stories, I mean, there's tons, right? I hung out with Larry Flynt, and I was in Vegas for many years. So I've seen the prostitutes in the Jello, right? In the bathtub, right?
You know who Larry Flynt is, Cassia?
No. Yeah.
But you should research Larry Flynt, because he has a wonderful backstory, and he has a great movie out, and he's for freedom of speech. He was the man who published Hustler magazine.
Yeah.
Hustler. And right, Hustler? Yeah, Hustler. And
yes.
Not Penthouse, Hustler, yeah. And but when he was charged with, you can't say that, you can't do that, he turned the tables around on the system, on the government, on the judicial system. So it's a great movie to watch. But he was a big gambler. He was a very huge $1 million gambler. And but there were bigger, and there were more stories, and he was just fun because of Hustler magazine. But I got to tell you, there was and he's passed away too. And Bruce, what was his name? King.
Roger King.
Roger King. So
my first write-up in the casino ever. My first written write-up warning next to be terminated because of Roger King, and I didn't do anything. I was a scapegoat.
Wow.
Roger King.
Here's my Roger King. I was 21 years old, and I'm in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Now, not only explain who Roger King is, but we have to explain New Jersey, which, it's a crap hole, right? It's the East Coast, and the boardwalk was full of thugs and homeless and conniving. Is a dump to this day. None of the mayors put any money into that boardwalk. But anyway, it's not safe. And thank God it was only 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. But
I want to edit that out, because I have a cannabis license there now, dealing with the mayor and shit. So, go ahead.
My relatives will kill me. I'm Italian, Bruce. You have to edit that out. My relatives will kill me. Anyway, but leave the part in. The boardwalk is unsafe. It's not the safest place on the planet. And so Richard Slack was my vice president of operations at the time, and he calls me over. He goes, "Hey, kid, come here." He goes, "I want you to go to the cage and meet Roger King, and walk with Roger King and his attorney or accountant, whoever this guy was, and go next door." I believe it was either Trump, or it might have been the Playboy Club at the time, or go next door, walk the boardwalk, go next door. He has to get something, and walk back with him. I have no idea what this is going to be, right? So I walk to the boardwalk with him. They're barely speaking to me, and I'm very young, so I don't dare. You know, in those days, we didn't even walk into the baccarat pit. It was sacred. Players were sacred. Play was sacred, right? So I kept very quiet, and I tailed behind them through the crowd of homeless people and muggers and thugs and thieves and all this crap that's on the boardwalk, and some families with strollers as well. So we go into the casino. I wait outside the cage of the sister casino of the competition, and when Roger comes out, he throws a duffel bag at me. Okay, supposed to be locked. You know, it's one of those cage bags. Wasn't locked. Throws it at me and says, "Kid, you carry this."
It's could be one of two things, but go ahead.
Yeah. So the 21-year-old, already scared to death, walks out into the boardwalk. You know, your shoulders are getting, you know what I mean? It's like being on the streets of New York City. And Roger King steps out a few feet in front of me, turns around, walking backwards, pointing to me, yelling, "He's got $80,000. He's got $80,000.
Roger was nuts like that. He was crazy.
When I tell you, I wet my pants, boy, I wet my pants. And people must have thought he was full of, you know, crap, right? So nobody bothered me. And it was a short walk. But we got back to Caesars, and Rich slacks at me, "Oh, did you take a shower and not dry yourself?" I said, "I am sweating. You don't know what this guy did." And that's a mild Roger King story.
I got to tell you mine now. I told Cassia why you had that break for a minute. So, you know, first of all, Roger King, his King World Productions, Lord Griffin Studios, you know, Wheel of Fortune, The Little Rascals, Oprah Winfrey. He literally discovered Oprah Winfrey. He took her pilot and chopped around the different networks and got her started. So he was multi important. Brilliant salesperson. Probably the greatest salesperson ever. I didn't know that during the time. I didn't know that who he was. To me, he was just a jackadoo gambler, you know, that was extreme, that was always intoxicated, you know. And so now I'm a casino host. And myself and the casino manager, Hank McCullough, who passed away years ago, may he rest in peace, the greatest guy. He says, "Bruce, we gotta escort Roger from we were at the Showboat Casino down to in front of the resorts where the helipad was for Trump's helicopter, which was the Taj Mahal.
Right.
His heliports, I think it was. So they had the Trump helicopter. He says, we have to meet Roger. He's just coming out of the steakhouse, and walk him down to the helipad." I'm thinking, hey, no big deal. Okay, all right. And while we go out to he said, "Meet me in the hallway." I said, okay. I meet him out in the hall. Meet Hank out in the hallway, and there's two service guys or waiters with these carts and these white boxes on top of the carts. I said, "Well, what's that?" He says, "Well, they're going with us. They had boxed up a bunch of food for Roger, who's going to take on the helicopter with him." I said, "Okay, great. We're waiting for Roger. Where's he at?" "Oh, he's coming out." "Okay, he's coming now. So I'm a little nervous. "Oh, he's come. Here he is. They were carrying him out of the restaurant. Literally carrying him out of the restaurant. And so Hank says, "You get one arm, I get the other." And he's got an arm over each of our necks, and we're walking down outside on the boardwalk. The two waiters are behind us with the carts, pushing this cart of food behind us. And I can't, he says, "Bruce, don't worry." He says, "Well, we're almost there. And we're like, damn. And Roger's like, he's mumbling and shit. And he's drooling. We get to the helipad. The blades are going. And it's a flight engineer, but he's got his tie on and everything. And he comes out, he's got headphones on. He says, "Oh, is that Roger King?" "Yeah, here he is, Roger King." "Okay, put him on there, put him on." "All right, yeah, okay." So he grabs him, we put him in, and they strap him in. And we take the boxes. So what are we going to do with the food? Just put it in. So we took it, and the blades are going, shit, you know. And we take the boxes, and we just kind of threw it in the helicopter. And then they close the door, and you see his face in the glass, you know, and his head is slumped down. And we back up, and we just stand there looking at each other, and the helicopter takes off. We go, all right, Roger, have a good flight. And we're walking back to the showboat, and I'm going like, what? Nobody's going to believe me when I tell them, what just happened. That was Roger King, and it was amazing.
And Cassia, again, those are two mild stories. If you think those are wild, those are two mild. It also left out the part, Bruce, that he had probably just lost 2.3 million, right? When you carried him to the helicopter.
Yeah.
So what are the wild stories? I want to hear some wild stories.
Wife or wise?
Wild stories.
Why?
From the casino industry, yes.
I don't know what you mean. Wise guys?
Wild.
Oh,
wild.
Oh, we can't tell those.
Sexy, Lexi said.
Wild.
Wild is just like the movie.
It's every day. It's just every day.
Vegas was not Atlantic City, but Vegas was as wild as the movies, and more. The Hangover and all those casino movies, and Jello in the tub, pudding in the tubs. Big parties. One time I went to Houston. We had a golf tournament. John Gray put together a golf tournament, and it was we closed it was private. We closed the whole golf tournament, and he brought all the girls from the dancing bars, and it was a naked golf tournament. It was a completely nude golf tournament, just so many different things. And even gifts, even getting, even a player saying, I'll go buy me a Ferrari. Go buy me that painting. Go buy my entire family diamond earrings right now, and they did not miss a beat. Right? They didn't wait for your response. They didn't wait for your answer. They went back to gambling, and you had to go. They snapped their finger, and you had to go. So many. I could tell you stories where I would 3:00 in the morning. Host asked me, you answered your phone all the time. I said, yeah. Not only answered my phone, I can name several 3:00 in the morning where I got up, put my suit on, and went into the joint. 3:00. The guy said no. It didn't complain on the phone. Said you need to be here. Click. That was it. I didn't even know what I was getting. I don't know if he was getting thrown out, if he was down money, if he was, And I didn't question it. And put my clothes on, and 3:00 in the morning went to the, when we had the jet at the Las Vegas Hilton. God bless Steve Sear. We used to get promo chips, which is basically giving you money to gamble with, a promo chip, right? For sake of argument. And we would we had a G4, we had a jet. The Hilton had a jet back then. And Steve would put me on the jet with 25,000 in promo chips or 2,500, but it didn't matter. And he'd say, go fly to this guy's office in Washington and go to the office and give him the chips and go, I got a jet. And if you want to use those chips at the Hilton, I mean, the stories.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
On and on and on and on.
Yeah,
and on.
You ever heard of a player named? I'm going to use the name Hooten McCoy was his name.
Of course.
And he was a huge baccarat player, fast on the mini bac, because he would hold the shoe and he would deal so fast. We had to have 3 people on the game, one to track the markers, one to track the commission, and one to track the buybacks and how much he had still on his account. And I remember the story that I heard about him. I heard the story that. I think it was had to be Caesars or MGM, or I think it was Caesars. I think Terry Lanny was MGM, right? Terry Lanny, who was the president CEO of MGM, and there was Alex Yamaninjian and some other big guys, and there must have been a dispute about some money that he either owed or some kind of irregularity on the game, and they decided to pay him. It was some ungodly amounts of money, I don't know, a couple $1 million or whatever. And so that they got into the private plane, the G4, Terry Lanny, the CEO, executives, all of them, and they had a butler and a silver platter. And they flew to his residence, knocked on the door, and it was Terry Lanny and everything. And he said, hey, how's you doing? Well, we're here to give you a present. And then they had the butler walk up in between them and hand them this silver platter with this couple $1 million on it at his home, and they flew there to present him with that. And that's delivering. That's not sales. That's just
I don't know if you want to talk about Asian again, but do you remember the lion in front of the MGM Grand?
They had the movie. Go ahead.
Cassia. So you speak about Asian culture and Asian marketing. So when they built the MGM Grand, built it or remodeled, I can't remember. When they built
it, yeah,
on the Strip, on the Las Vegas Strip. Okay. Giants in the industry. Don't get me wrong. There wasn't anybody from a pickle store. It was giants in the industry. Yep. And they opened the MGM Grand, and the logo for the MGM Grand is the lion, right? Have you seen the MGM Grand logo? It's a lion, just like studios, right? Just like the studios. Oh, I got another great story to tell you. And they built the lion head in the front entrance, and the mouth was roaring. So you walked into the mouth of the lion to get not one Asian player would go to that casino because that is bad juju.
What was that? $1 billion construction or something? They built that?
That lion cost them $1 billion, and then they had to break it down and redo it. Now, my biggest thing is, and if they're listening, you can text me. When you were building this casino, not one of you said, wait a minute, do you want Asian players to come? Like, not one, it didn't cross anybody's mind. When I opened the Downtown Grand with Seth Shore, he was so adamant about the Asian market, but he asked me every single question. Is this right? Is that right? Is this? And he knew from Steve Wynn, of course. But Seth took careful attention when he opened the Downtown Grand and to the Asian market. Here's $1 billion trillion resort, and they put and you walk into the mouth. So just to tell people, that's a great example of explaining Asian culture to people.
Mm-hmm.
When we opened the Paris casino, we stayed at Bally's, right? We were housed at Bally's, which is very old property. It was the one that caught fire.
Used to be the MGM. The original MGM.
And it caught fire, and there was no fire trucks to go that high up. And, they're all gone now, but a lot of people told me some great stories. So I'm sitting in an office at Bally's with my pal, Eddie Pinto. I don't know if you remember Eddie Pinto, but that was my sidekick. He was my right-hand man. And me and Eddie Pinto were sitting in this office making calls and running a whole host program and putting together the PD department for Paris and Bally's. And there was a safe in the room, in the wall, a big giant like a movie safe, locked. One day, Bruce, it was open a crack.